Imagine that we would live in a world where we would understand each other. I don't mean just understanding, I mean knowing what the others feel, what the other is thinking, and acting accordingly. Imagine that this world would exist not only of me and another person alike, but of people from different cultures. Imagine, for example, the Indian culture and the European culture. Imagine that we would talk to each other and just interact with each other without problems, without waste, without ballast, just lean contact, like they say in management language. Lean interaction. The world would be a better place to live in, wouldn't it? Well, that's what we are thinking about, but there are a lot of barriers to that. For example, we see that in some cultures, emotions are more cultivated than in other cultures. We see that some emotions are even unlearned in some cultures. Do we know that from each other? Do we act according to that? And forget about the emotions. Think about behaviors. We can have the same emotion. For example, in the next picture, you'll see two men probably feeling discomfort, but they behave in a completely different way. Or take insult. Do we even realize when we are insulted by a person from another culture? There's a lot of differences in there. And what we see is that children often are capable to deal with these differences in a quicker way. They learn some different ways, some different patterns of behavior, and they have smoother interactions. That's something to be jealous about as adults, because we don't often seem to succeed in that. So we thought we're looking into the social sciences literature. We have a research center, as Alok said, in Ghent University, Comparative Science of Cultures, and we thought we'll go and read about it. Of course, we didn't find an answer. We didn't find a book that helped us to go about with each other in a smoother way. We found a lot about differences in clothes, differences in food, differences in behavior, differences in religion, differences in morals. We found even stories about the Indian curries, the caste system, the holy cow. But we didn't find a book that could help us in really deal with these differences in a better way, or even to deal with them. So we thought we'll ask it to our Indian colleagues, because we have research centers in India as well. We talked about it a lot of times. We said, look, there are these differences. We get annoyed with each other. They cause frictions, the differences in emotions, in behaviors, in patterns, in habits. So how could we find out if we don't find it in the books? How could we learn to deal with these things in a better way? Or are we bound to remain frustrated, irritated, and incapable to deal with each other in a smooth way? Of course, the answer is no. We have, as you see, people in our different research centers who have learned to deal with each other in the framework of a new research program. The research program is called Comparative Science of Cultures, and it's developed by this Indian professor you see, this Professor Balu. This research program helps us to deal with each other in a better way, but it does not only that, it also slowly is showing us something that Professor Balu told us already many years ago. It shows us that the Indian culture has some practices which show us how to deal better with the human mind and with the social dynamics. Of course, these practices are very unknown to us, and we are not trained to recognize them, especially Europeans. We think meditation, for example, is making your head empty and relaxing. It is not. We think the conflict resolution practices which happen in villages is listening to the chief of the village and then seeing what his judgment is. It is not. We think that the practices of storytelling, which we see a lot in non-European cultures, are entertainment. They are not. So what exactly can we learn from the Indian culture? if we simply are not used to it. The Indian culture for thousands of years has developed practices which show a practical knowledge, but we Europeans are not used to it. And the Indians have the problem that it got buried under a whole number of layers of colonization. So what to do? Well, the answer is pretty simple. The Indians from their side should go back and try to rediscover what their traditions are capable of offering them, which they still have somewhere, somehow transmitted. And we should be beginning to find out what they actually can offer to us. The problem is, ladies and gentlemen, that our social sciences have been developed by Europeans and have been accepted by all the non-Europeans in the world. For decades and decades and centuries on end, it has been accepted in the whole world. We need to decolonize the social sciences, which is quite a huge task to do. Are we, ladies and gentlemen, ready for that? As Europeans, are we willing to build a new kind of social sciences? Can we do that? We think from our research centers that we really should, because we see that our Indian colleagues are ready, that they're building a new kind of 21st century social scientific sciences. And our suggestion just is, let's join hands and make this world a really excellent world to live in.